When was the last time you took a leap of faith, trusting that everything is going to work out? Do you crave growth, or are you merely content with the status quo? If you want more out of your life, out of your career, and out of your relationships, you are in the right place. Take the leap and discover how to create a life by design rather than living it by default. Real success starts with you. Now here's your host, Colleen Biggs.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Take the Leap. I am your host, Colleen Biggs. This is like my favorite time of year, fall. I freaking love fall. We just came out of Domestic Violence Month, and I attended several roundtables, several breakfasts, several areas where I could support domestic violence. Many of you have heard my story. I don't talk a lot about it because I think anyone that has been a victim of domestic violence, it's not the first thing that they want to share with someone. But something a lady said this morning I thought was so crucial that you all need to hear. Domestic violence doesn't happen to poor women who have too many children in some other community. And we tend to think that domestic violence doesn't happen in our backyard or to our neighbor or to people of our status, she said. And she's right. It happens to a lot of women, no matter their status of money, no matter their status of where they live, and no matter their status of how many children they have. Because I was not a poor white woman with too many children when I was abused. That just was not my situation. You slowly get trapped into this relationship that starts out extremely loving, like a fairy tale. So if you're a female that needs help, please, please, please contact a hotline, an emergency hotline for a company called A New Leaf, and it's turninganewleaf.org. I would love to make sure that we are helping as many women out there today as possible to change their lives. And I promise you, as a survivor of domestic violence, yes, you can start a new life, and yes, you can get away from that person who is abusing you. I'm living proof, and many other women are too, that you can do that and still live a great life and have a loving relationship moving forward. So I'm excited for our guest today, Mercedes Collins. She's so young. She has cute little kids. I just love it when we have young ladies that we get to interview here on our podcast. And most of the time we talk a lot about here's, steps that we can take. Here are tools that we can use. Here is what you can apply to your business today. And so when we're talking about tools today, we're going to focus on the brain and how our brain is wired. No, it's not going to be all about science and a boring podcast. That's not what we're doing today because I don't do that. But we are going to get into the brain and talk a little bit about neurofeedback and why it's important for us to understand what's happening within our brain when it comes to stress, anxiety, migraines, all the reasons why you don't sleep. People just think they don't sleep because they had a bad night. I don't know. There's so many factors of your health of why you don't sleep. And if all of that is in line, I promise you'll sleep like a baby, because I do. Like, it's the best thing ever. So we're going to get to Mercedes in just a minute. But before we do, I want to thank the sponsor of today's show, Peaceful Living. Why do we allow stress to compound in our lives, affecting our sleep and daily rituals? That's what we just talked about. The truth is we all live with it, but imagine what it could feel like not to suffer from stress. Are you ready to feel better, sleep better, and change your overall relationship with tension? Peaceful Living can bring you more peaceful moments into your day. Peaceful Living offers simple tools, live stream, and on-demand classes, a customized self-care success plan. Imagine if you had simple ways to slow down and restore your energy without taking big chunks of your time away from your schedule. We know it's possible, and we're here to help. And the founder, Roberta Hughes, will be your guide each step of the way. So visit Peaceful Living at the link below. Use the code LEAP to receive your first month for free. And we want to thank Roberta for being the sponsor of today's show. Well, let me tell you a little bit about our young, beautiful guest today, Mercedes Collins. She's the owner of Neurogen Brain Balancing East Valley. She was born and raised in Arizona, where she lives with her husband and two young kids. Like I said, they're 1 and 3. Oh, my favorite ages. She's a corporate girly turned entrepreneur and hasn't looked back since taking that scary leap that is so worth it. It is, Mercedes. Welcome to today's show.
Thank you, Colleen. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, let's talk about the scary leap, because I don't even think getting married was the scary leap. I honestly think for some reason, all of us move when we shift and our income's like, "Ugh, all of a sudden I'm making this money guaranteed. I shift to not being guaranteed money. What is my life going to look like as an entrepreneur?" What went through your head during that time?
Yeah, it's funny how you mentioned marriage wasn't the scary leap, and neither was kids. I actually was I'm getting better at it. I had my timelines. I wanted to be married by 25, 2 kids before 30. So far, it's all worked out. But yeah, that wasn't the scary part. But to your point, I was in real estate. That's my background. I was in new home sales for almost 6 years, the majority of my 20s. And I decided to leave to take that leap when I was a couple months pregnant with my son, the one who's now 1 year old. And yeah, it was scary. I mean, it's still scary. I'm about 6 months into this business, the Neurogen business, but when I left, it was for a completely different business that I no longer do anymore. I shut it down. It's just not my passion. And yeah, very nerve-wracking to go from a six-figure plus salary to I hadn't made a single dollar when I decided to leave. I had high hopes and a dream and a savings and was like, let's do this. And yeah, it's been a journey. And yeah, so I don't know how far you want to dive into that, but definitely that.
Well, I want to know, like, what was the one thing for me that I talk a lot about on this show is the belief that I had in myself, that I didn't rely on the beliefs of others, but what I did do was surround myself with people that were going through a lot of the same things I was going through as growing their business and was also entrepreneurs. So I did that. One, I surrounded myself with those people, and then two, I kept working on my personal development and the belief in myself that I was able to do it. Because when at the end of the day, when it all comes down to it, it's still you and the belief in you that you have for you to be able to accomplish your goals and grow. So what was that one? What was it for you?
Oh, I totally agree. And I mean, at 28, people are like, "Excuse me, you're leaving what to do what? Like, why? And you're pregnant? What?"
Yeah,
Um,
they're like, are you just going to be a stay-at-home mom? You're like,
yeah, like we had
no.
just moved into our new house. Like we sold our first one and moved into this one and like upped the lifestyle. And people are like, so you're gonna like leave the job that pays for the stuff? And I'm like, yeah, but no, you don't understand. I want to make more. Being an entrepreneur, I'm in charge of that. I was capped at what I did. I was told how much I could sell, what I could sell it for, and how fast we can build them. So yeah, I that was the big thing is I had to take that leap on myself. And to your point, I had to surround myself with people outside of just my family, because even like my husband 2 years in, he still kind of doesn't get it. He's like, wait, so like how stable is this? Like what do you make every month? Is it like it was before? So it's a very different world and different mindset. And that's kind of what led me into what I do now with the brain balancing, because it's in a sense nervous system regulation.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to have that. Like, especially I had a toddler, a baby, all of the things. I was like trying to do and juggle so much. I needed that time for me. That was more than just the breath work, more than just the journaling. And that stuff's great, but it was only helping so much. So I was reading all the personal development books. I was doing all the things, doing that inner work. I'm sure you've heard they joke like entrepreneurship is the biggest personal development journey you will
Yeah.
ever go on. And a couple years in, I can see it. So that's the biggest thing is really working on you and having that belief in yourself. And yes, of course, it helps to have your people, your tribes. I've been a part of other communities and everything too, even the Leap community of other women
Mm-hmm.
growing businesses. And that's been really helpful too, to have people who have done it before, maybe not my exact business, but at least they get that fear and that startup feeling to really lean on when, say, your family isn't necessarily the one that really understands it yet.
They're the number one individuals that won't support you immediately out of the gate. Because I remember when I was like, oh, I'm leaving corporate America and I'm going to dive into this full time. They were like, no, you're not. No, that's a bad idea, everyone said. Horrible idea. But in my mind, I was ready. I had already worked through it for myself. So we need to trust those family members when they've already worked through it and decide that's what they want to do, because they put a lot of thought and months and months and months, sometimes years of time for that. So you mentioned the central nervous system. Hot new thing. Everyone's talking about. So Neurogen, brain balancing, hot new thing as well that everyone's talking about, because now there are places popping up all over the place. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of cold plunges. There's a lot of health benefits to a cold plunge, including putting your vagus nerve in the water, which helps regulate your central nervous system. I use it for like this mental strengthening that I do, because you don't die, but you've really got to tell your mind that you're going to be fine and breathe through it for about 15, 20 seconds till you regulate, and then you're fine. And then you're just sitting in the water, but by then your body's numb and it can't feel anything anyway, so you're fine. So that's health benefits. And if you talk to a nurse, we can go through all of the health benefits that happen from that. And people are coming out in droves for that, Mercedes. Yeah. So tell us about the brain balancing, a little bit about the synapses that happen, what's going on in most people's brains that they don't realize is happening.
Yeah, and like I said, I'll spare everyone the super science lesson, but the short answer is the way that it works is it is an in-person thing, because I'm truly hooking you up with little we call them leads, but just like little devices, so I can read your brain waves. I can actually see, using an EEG, your brain waves on the screen, which is so cool. And what it's doing, it's a two-way feedback. So I can see what's going on, but then the EEG is also giving back a microcurrent. So it is a little bit of electricity. No, it's not shocking you. I get that asked all of the time. Most people don't even feel it. I've done probably 15 sessions on myself. I've never felt it. But all it's doing is it's sending gentle ripples to the brain to create new neural pathways. So it's basically, I like to joke that it's like fast tracking your nervous system regulation, because to your point, yes, you have the cold plunges and all of the things. We just actually started incorporating red light therapy into the sessions as well. So all of these things together, I just like to think of it as another tool in your tool belt to help fast track, again, that to get you to that regulated state. Because to answer the question is, a lot of times that I see, even especially with women that are like, I'm good, I'm pretty focused, I feel like I'm at the top of my game, I'm great, right? Like, how much better can it be? I'm optimized. And I'll hook them up and it's like, what? And so sometimes I can see that like your body is actually stressed. Like, you might not feel it, you might feel great, and that's how I felt too. I knew that I was anxious, I knew that I was stressed, again, leaving a business, having the little kids, all of the things, a little bit of financial uncertainty when I first left that job. But I didn't realize how anxious and how stressed I was until about 3 sessions in. And then I felt like this wave of relief and was like, oh, my baseline was just high. I had coped with it for years, most of my 20s. And to me, it was just normal. And yeah, I'd say that's the biggest thing, is just being able to like physically calm it down. And now I can even see on myself when I do my own sessions, and same with other women I work with, is actually seeing that stress and anxiety, that brain wave come down to a more balanced, we call it a balanced state. So that to me is the coolest part.
So what happens, and let's just get science nerdy for a second. What happens in the brain after these sessions when they take place? Because I know you've been working with not only vets, for PTSD, but migraines, ADHD, anxiety. Talk to me a little bit about what's happening on a science level in the brain that helps calm, you said, down to the natural baseline, not what we had created for what we're tolerating, thinking that is our baseline.
Yeah. So, and I will like preface, I'm definitely not like a neuroscientist or anything. I hope I don't look old enough to be one of those. But I did not build the machine.
That'd be pretty impressive, though, if you were.
Right. All the things before 30, check.
Yeah.
Just kidding. But on that level, it's truly going in and it's looking for the unhealthy brain patterns and unhealthy neural pathways. So again, I didn't build the machine, but that's what the EEG is doing. It's going in and it's detecting, kind of like a little, I think of it as like you're rebooting the computer, right? Like your brain's this big computer and it's going in and it's finding any bugs to come and fix. And it's slowly but surely. It's not an overnight success. We're not trying to look for this big, massive, like jolt of anything crazy. Again, it's small, tiny ripples that are going into the brain to physically create these new pathways. So it's getting rid of the unhealthy to create new healthy ones. And to your point with ADHD, I actually see a lot of kids for that too. Um, Apparently 12 years old is the time everybody comes in. And it actually the kids, because their brains are more malleable, they're not as set in their ways, if you will. They notice a difference almost right away. Usually after the first or second visit, it's really cool to see them be able to focus and stay on task and complete their homework. But even adults, to your point, is I mean, imagine being able to like not have to take. I've heard of people taking Adderall just because they want to just get this project done and like plow through it. And it's like there's other ways. Not that I'm anti-medicine or medication. There's definitely a time and place, but I'm a girl that's all about trying something a little bit more natural before that too.
Yeah. Well, obviously, this is backed by science for and understanding it. And was it originally created for vets for PTSD? Is that how it was originally brought about?
It was, yeah. So it was created about 10 to 12 years ago now. Yeah, by veterans for veterans with PTSD. That's how it all originated. And the founder, when he was, testing it on himself, he then like tested it on his whole like squad of guys.
Hmm.
And yeah, just over the years they saw that it could do so much more than just PTSD. Like you mentioned, sleep is a huge thing. A lot of our stress and anxiety and overwhelm comes because we're not sleeping well, but we're not sleeping because our body is never fully getting that chance to actually relax inside. You might get 8 hours of sleep. You might fall asleep quickly, but are you waking up feeling well rested? Are you getting the coffee because you want it or because you need it to get through the day? So those are the things that I like to ask people to look for too. Which again, like I said, when I noticed with my anxiety and stress, I didn't realize how stressed I was until the body was like, oh, and to be honest, I wear an Aura ring now, so I like literally track all of that stuff because I think it's really cool. And I even noticed a shift, if you're familiar with it, like my readiness and my sleep score since I started doing this. So it's crazy how it all works. But yeah, it was started by vets for that reason.
So no matter what you're saying, it doesn't really matter where you're operating, if you're operating with stress that you know of or not, if you're operating with anxiety or migraines. Let's talk about migraines
Yeah.
because I know you started a study not too long ago and I had women around me that constantly told me they had migraines. And when you said that, I was like, I think you might need to work with Mercedes. I said to a couple of them that were local. And I know you've been working with one of them and have had multiple sessions, 10 or 15 sessions by now. And this certain individual was suffering with them daily. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine suffering daily from these just debilitating headaches because I've had them in the past and mine were actually relationship related because they went away once I was out of the relationship. Crazy how all of that stuff happens. But do you want to talk a little bit about migraines and neurogen brain balancing?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, yeah, the woman that we're talking about, I actually just saw her yesterday for her 10th appointment, and I've been seeing her for just over 2.5 months now, and she hasn't had a migraine in a month and a half.
What?
Yeah, and that was after I was looking back at her notes. And yeah, it was
Yeah.
after like the third or fourth session, they turned into just mild headaches occasionally.
Wow.
But yeah, it hasn't been since like early September. She hasn't had a migraine, and she stopped taking her preventative migraine medication 3 weeks ago. So she's freaking stoked. She's so excited. This
Wow.
is incredible. Not to
Yeah.
mention all the other stuff that it's been helping with along the way. So what's
Yeah.
cool about it is, yes, we're targeting for like migraines, for instance. I'm putting it in certain parts of, because certain regions of the brain activate different things, and that's how it can be completely customized to what you need. If it's for ADHD, if
Mm-hmm.
it's for PTSD, if it's for migraines, we're putting it in different spots to make it custom for you and what your body needs. So, like for her, we were mostly just hitting the migraine spot, and yeah, her sleep's been better. She's been more focused. She's actually able to like travel to higher
Mm.
elevations and not get sick, surprisingly. So I'm like, oh, that's a great side effect,
Crazy.
I guess. But yeah, so it's just incredible how it can truly be life changing for so many different reasons, which is, I don't know, it's just one of the most fulfilling things for me is to be able to like every day to go in and be like, how are you feeling? Because I have yet to have somebody come in that's like, it's not working. This sucks. Like no one's ever
Yeah.
said that.
Well, I want to let everyone know at this point in the podcast that your website is nbbeastvalley.com because you're located in the East Valley of Arizona. So anyone that's in Arizona, that's where you're located. But if they're outside of Arizona, what website should they go to if they're outside of
Yeah.
Arizona?
So Neurogen's the name of the technology itself. So there's actually about 35 certified practitioners all around the US. So I'm just one in Arizona here. And
You're
so,
the best in
oh,
Arizona
well,
here, by
thank
the way.
you. Thank you. Yeah, so they're the main website if you're in a different state and want to see if there's a person in your area, I believe it's neurogenbb.com.
Okay. That's
Honestly, even
good
if you
to
just
know.
go to Google and type in Neurogen, it'll probably be the
Yeah.
first to pop up. But yeah,
Yeah.
then you can go to locations and you can see if it's in your state or your city too.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we're reaching everyone because several of you are even, out of the country. And I would love for you to be able to have access to this healing for you, especially if you're suffering from PTSD. For vets, there's actually a nonprofit side of Neurogen Brain Balancing. I know that you can click on that on their website because I've been there, where as a vet, you can actually get free visits to be able to go through several sessions for PTSD because that's the nonprofit side of the business. So if you're local here in Arizona, I know Mercedes is talking to someone here in our community in Eastmark about being a representative on Veterans Day for veterans because there's a nonprofit side of this for them to be able to get some free sessions. What is your favorite part now that you are an entrepreneur and working with some amazing clients, young and old, right? What is your most favorite part about now that you've taken the leap, now that you've designed your life the way you wanted it to be and realized like I don't have to have it designed by a company that tells me how much money I make, how much I can sell, what I can do. Now that you've taken that leap and are designing your own life, what is your favorite part of that?
I would say for this season of life, if you will, again with having a 1 and a 3-year-old, couple things. I love that I do get to create my own schedule. If I'm like, hey, I don't want to open until 10 a.m. so I can, spend the morning with my babies before dropping them off to school or having, someone watch them for me. I get to do that. Or if it's like, hey, you know what? No one's scheduled today. I don't have to go in and just sit there hoping somebody comes
Mm-hmm.
in for the day. I can go in if someone randomly books, great. If they don't, cool. I just got a free day with the kids or a free day to do stuff. So I just love having that flexibility and being able to say, yes, I want to work on Saturdays or I don't want to work Saturdays. Because in my previous job, I worked weekends and had my 2 days off during the week. It was very like 9 to 5, the whole thing. And then with this particular business versus the first one I started when I left, I love that it's in person, to be honest. I get that I would have more freedom, flexible time-wise with the online business I was
Yeah.
starting, but again, it wasn't where my heart was at. I still love the topic, but it's just not something I wanted to be like known for and coaching on. But I love that I still get to go in and actually talk to people and hear
Mm-hmm.
their stories. And then the vision is to hire more practitioners down the road so we can grow and have whether it's multiple locations or just be able to reach more people, right? I'm only one person. I can physically only see so many a day, which will down the road again give me even more flexibility as my kids get older and we want to start doing stuff. So I'd say that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing is just flexibility with time as an entrepreneur, but also not being afraid in the beginning to put in more time so you can get the flexibility later. I joke,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'd rather grind now and put in more hours than I really want. Like, don't get me wrong, this is not I work 4 hours a day and make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, no, but I would love to have that in the future. But I'm willing to put in the work now to have that in a couple years and have even more freedom.
Yeah, I think in anything that we do, building a restaurant, building a home, building a family, in anything that we do, we need to have patience because when you're doing something for the first time, you're always learning and you're pushing that rock, like I call, up the mountain. And I love having people with you because they can like hold it when you need a break, all those types of things, right? That's kind of visually how I see it. But then once you get to the top, then it really does get easier as it starts rolling down the other side, right? And it does get easier. And the name of the game is to fill your schedule with connecting with people, meeting new people, being at events. I know you're going to be a vendor at the Empower and Elevate conference coming up on November 15th. If anyone missed that one, the next one is March 21st. I know Mercedes will be at that one as well. So just sharing with you that these types of events, going to networking events, connecting with people, how crucial it is to build your social capital and surround yourself with people that are constantly pouring into you and opening up doors for you, introducing you to new people. If you didn't have doors opened and new people introduced to you, you wouldn't be able to have the clientele that you have. Our social capital is so important. Our network it's crucial that we tap into that and the people that we have around us. So you've done a great job of that, Mercedes. We have an offer of 25% off to the listeners using the discount code LEAP. So if they go to your website and sign up for a session at nbbeastvalley.com and they use the code LEAP, they can get 25% off for a session. And then you're also on Instagram. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I technically have two. If you want to just follow my personal and like check out my family and the kids and all that, it's mercedes.a.collins. And if you're like, hey, I want to learn more about Neurogen and what brain balancing is all about, then you can also follow us there at, neurogenbb.eastvalley.
East Valley. Great. Okay. So I highly suggest you go start following her on Instagram. Go to her website, connect with her there. I know you can connect directly with her, but DM her on Instagram and let her know that that you're there and find out a little bit more information and tell her a little bit more about you and your specific situation, because just like everyone, I understand it's private. I understand anything you may be going through is private. You don't want other people to know about it, especially when it comes to your brain or how you feel, or maybe you try and shield the migraines and not let everyone know that you're suffering. Well, you don't need to suffer anymore. Mercedes is here to help you solve that problem for anxiety, migraines, better sleep, PTSD. I could go on. And it's so sad that young children at 12 years old are suffering with anxiety and depression these days, but mental health is a thing. And if we don't pay attention to it and we're not doing anything about it, it's only going to get worse. So I'm so happy to have you on the show and shout from the mountaintops about what you can do for people, Mercedes. So thank you. Thank you for being here and being a guest. And I just want to remind all of our listeners that have been with us for years and years, you're the only you that's ever been. You're the only you that will ever be. You have a duty to take care of your body while you're on this earth. And without the brain, you really don't have anything. It's kind of like the brain, the heart, the soul, those kind of things are, when we talk about mind, body, physical, spirit, all of those things, that's it. The mind is the brain. So without those things, you can't really operate at your optimal levels, and that's what it really takes as an entrepreneur. So I want to thank you again, Mercedes, for being here, and thank all of you for being loyal listeners of the show. And until next time, never forget, be you and be strong. Bye-bye for now.
We hope you enjoyed our show today, as our guests shared their secrets on designing their life by taking the necessary leaps to expand their influence and attract the right people and clients into their lives. To start these easy steps for yourself, be sure to visit www.colleenbiggs.net/freebies to download the 7 ways to increase your exposure today.